we have gotten into the Torah to Siman Tavku 529, which is the last Siman in Hilchos Yomtov. The Torah writes, Mitzvahs Yomtov לחלק also חציו לבית המדרש וחציו לאכילה ושתייה. The mitzvah of Yomtov is to divide it, half of it for the base medrash and half of it for eating and drinking. Ve'af al pi שצריך כל אדם לצמצם יציאותיו, even though a person should limit his expenses. Al yצמצם בהוצאת Yomtov, one should not limit his expenses for Yomtov. וצריך לכבדו, לענגו, כדרך שמענג ומכבד השבת. One should rejoice in it and honor it in the same way he honors Shabbos. ובהלכות כתבתיו, and in the halachos of Shabbos, I've written exactly how we're supposed to do this. And some people say שצריך לעשות בו ג' סעודות, וכן כתב הרמב. Some people say that you should make 3 סעודות on Yom Tov, and this is what the Rambam wrote. And my father, my lord, the Rosh, did not conduct himself in this way. In Chutz, where there are 2 days of Yom Tov, and having on the first day of Yom Tov a Suda Shlishis, a third meal, would impinge upon the Suda Yom Tov of the second, for the night of the second day of Yom Tov. People do not have Suda Shlishis. It's not the general minhag to have Suda Shlishis. And in fact, the Aruch HaShulchan writes that even on Shabbos, when there is Yom Tov Motzi Shabbos, there's no din of Suda Shlishis because we have a halacha of honoring the Yom Tov meal. However, in Eretz Yisrael, it is much more common. My Rebbe Zatzal and his whole family are noheg to have a third meal on Yom Tov because afterwards there's never a second day of Yom Tov, and so it's not a problem. And on the second day of Yom Tov, we generally don't have one because if we didn't have one on the first day, we're not supposed to honor the second day more than the first, and so on. Kasav Rambam Zal. The Rambam, Zechron Levracha, wrote, Chayv Adam lios sameach v'tov lev b'moed, hu ve'ishto v'ana v'kol nilvim alav. A person is obligated to be happy and of a good heart on Yom Tov, he, his wife, his children, and everyone that accompanies him. Kol echad karoi lo, each person according to what's fit for them. Ketzad, how does this work? Hakatanim nosim lehem klayos ve'egozim, the children we give nuts and parched grain. This is like popcorn, things like that. Umagadim and treats. Ve'anashim kone lehem begadim v'tachshitim, the women we buy them new clothing and jewelry, kfi mamono, according to what you can afford. Ve'anashim ochlim baser v'shosim yam, and the men eat meat and drink wine. Kshu ochel v'shosei, when a person eats and drinks, chayv la'achil lager l'som ve'amana, one has to be careful to make sure to provide for the stranger, the convert, the orphan, and the widow. Im sharhanim, along with all the other poor. Aval mish noel dalse beso va'ochel v'shosei im bana v'ishto v'enu machil umashke la'anim l'mari nefesh. Someone that locks his door and he eats and he drinks with his children and his wife, and he doesn't give food and drink to the poor and those of bitter spirit. Ein zu mitzvah. What he does, his eating and drinking is not a mitzvah. Ela simchas kreisa. This is the enjoyment of his belly. Va'al elu ne'amar, and on these people it says, Zivechem kalechem onim, their sacrifices are the bread of affliction, lehem, for them. Kol ochalav yitamu, all of their food they make impure. Ki lachmam lenafshamhu, their bread is their soul. Afal gav she'achila ושתייה b'moed mitzvahs asehi, even though eating and drinking on Yom Tov is a positive commandment, lo ye ochel v'shosei kol yom, you shouldn't eat and drink all day. Ela kach hu hamida, this is the way it should be. This is a quote from the Gemara. Kol maskimim labati knisios labati midrashos. Everyone should get up early to go to the Beit Knesses, the Shul and the Beis Medrash, Umispalim v'korim b'Torah. You daven, you read the Torah, the Kriyas Torah b'inyan hayom, according to what you're supposed to read that day. V'chozim levatehem, you return home. V'ochlim, you eat. V'holchim lebeit atei midrashas, you return to the Beis Medrash. V'shanim ad chasiv, and you learn then until noon. They're obviously davening much earlier than most Anglos daven on Yom Tov because they're getting home in time to eat, finish, eat, go back to shul and learn, right, until noon. Mispalim tfilas mincha, and at noon, or 12:30 of Shabbos Manios, they daven mincha. V'chosim levateim, then you go home. V'shosim lishtos shar hayom adalayla, to drink, to enjoy oneself until the evening. When a person eats and drinks on regel, one should not be drawn after too much, after the meat and the wine, and laughing and lightheadedness. And say, everyone that increases this, he's increasing the mitzvah of simchas Yom Tov. Because this type of lightheadedness and joking isn't simcha, but it's silliness and vanity. We have not been commanded on vanity and silliness. The simcha that we have been commanded on is the simcha that serves the Creator. It's a very interesting halacha now. Chayv based in lamid shotrim b'regalim. The Beis Din has to appoint police on Yom Tov. Shiu shotatim mechabsim beganos pardisim, that they go around the gardens and the orchards. Allah naharos, and by the riverbank, that men and women shouldn't gather there. And come to sin. And everyone should be careful with this. Single men and women shouldn't gather in their houses with lightheadedness, and drink too much wine, because they may come to sin. Midas Chassidus Ashrei Am L'Negdam Tamid. It is a Midas Chassidus for people to always put God before them always. B'chol darchechem yeda'ehu. In all of their ways they should know God. Be'esim chasam, and especially at the time of their rejoicing. As Yoser, even more so there. V'yoser mevarchim meshabchim la'kadosh baruch hu. Then they should increase their blessings and their praises to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Asher samcham, because it is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we rejoice. V'yomer hadam bilibo, and a person should say in his heart, be'es simchaso v'hanaso, at the time of his enjoyment and rejoicing. Ve'im kachi simchas ha'olam hazeh, if this is the way we rejoice in this world, asher he hevel, in this world is a vanity, is just a breath that passes by. Ki yesh acharecha tuga, the tzar. After the rejoicing, there's going to be pain and suffering. Im ken, ma tiyeh simchas olam haba. So what will be the rejoicing in the world to come be like? Hatmidis, it will be constant. She'ein acharecha tuga, that there will be no pain or suffering after it. V'yispalel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And from this idea that olam haba will always be like our greatest simcha, Shiita libu la'avdo v'lasos r'tzono. He should therefore turn his heart to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to serve him, to do his will, b'leiv shalem, with a complete heart. The yismachenu b'simchas ha'olam, and that he should make us rejoice in the rejoicing of the world. V'yizkenu l'chai olam haba, he should remember us for the life in the world to come. La'or ba'or pnei melech hayim, and that with light we should see the light of the face of the King of the world. And with this, we complete the Hilchos Yom Tov in the tour, And Be'ezras Hashem, we will continue with Hilchos Chol Hamoed, another area of halacha that is unfortunately not studied very much. And everyone should have a wonderful day.